It's not what you don't know that'll kill you. It's what they refuse to tell you. I moved into Blackwood because it was the most picturesque part of Massachusetts I could ever find. There wasn't a lot of places that I could afford. I'm sure you've seen what the housing market looks like. And this place just looked like something out of a dream, and the price for this house that they were offering was, I couldn't pass it up even with my apprehensions. I mean, and you always have apprehensions. Don't ever fool yourself, and don't let anyone ever fool you. When you make a purchase this large, no matter how small the large purchase is, you have second thoughts. You have worries and concerns. You worry about if there's an HOA and how strict is it. You worry about, I don't know, the distance to stores, to your job, crime, schools. I laid those fears falsely to rest. When I got to the property. Do you ever see those neighborhoods and those children's books, The Fun with Dick and Jane? Yeah, it's like that. Only fall, not summer. Brilliant oranges and complementary browns and tans of the trees. Gentle breezes, people laughing and passing by, waving. Almost a little bit too perfect. The house followed suit. It was a gorgeous, renovated Victorian home. Renovated, making it cheaper, by the way. It wasn't restored, it was changed. And I supposed at first that was why nobody wanted it. I surely did. I mean, old houses have old wiring and old water problems and old heat problems, and they creak, and you always get lost in the notion that the building could be haunted. When it's renovated, everything feels new, and that doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. So I did the final walk and signed the paperwork and sweated bullets over all the last little bits and bobs that have to be approved before you can take the keys and call the place your own. And I suppose where the trouble starts was when I got out into the backwoods just behind my home. Not thick, dense woods, mind you, but dense enough to not be able to immediately see it. And I saw a fairy ring. If you don't know what a fairy ring is, um, it is a unique happening in nature where you will find toadstools or mushrooms, sometimes flowers, in the shape of a ring. It'll be a perfect little circle. And it happens because all sorts of various factors involved. But um, I didn't know about that then. And the person showing me the property said, "Oh, don't worry about that. You know, it's actually kind of an endearing thing. A lot of people wish they could have that sort of thing in their home." And I nodded. It was interesting, and they explained to me that it was not man-made at all. And and they said, "Oh yeah, and then that's great for if you have kids, they can go and play in it. You know, it's a lot of superstition surrounding it, but you go right ahead." And I don't know if they meant to say that or not, because I don't have kids. Um, I've kind of wanted to have kids. The point of the whole house was to start making a life that I could find somebody and maybe start a family. Maybe I'm doing it out of order, but I thought, in today's world, it might be more comforting to know that not only am I a provider, I already have the house and a nice place. I didn't give it much thought, the fairy ring, and I got approved. I moved in my things, and of course, as typical with this picturesque little town of Blackwood, there was a housewarming get-together. And they each, oddly enough, started asking about the same thing. "Did you see the back of the property?" I said, "Yeah." They said, "Did you happen to step in the ring?" I said, "No." And they go, "Well, that's interesting. You probably should." And I thought that was weird. Funny, in the whole scale of things, that line of questioning doesn't feel weird at all. Anyway, I moved in, and as I said, and got enough of my things out so that I could sleep for the evening. And that's when we had the first problem. Well, you can picture it how you like, but it started with a scratching at my bedroom window. Not too bad, really. I mean, there is a tree near the window, so I just assumed it was a branch that managed to blow in a errant breeze over and happened to brush up against the house. It happened a few times, nothing major. Got me up once to look out, and I noticed that from the vantage point of my bedroom I could see the fairy ring. And there was something there. And And that was confusing. Now, keep in mind, there's no fence or anything around my property, so anybody could come and go as they pleased. And the fairy ring is a pretty odd happening in nature, so I I kind of brushed it off and thought, it might be just somebody walking past and they saw the ring and didn't understand it, because I don't entirely get it. We move forward now to a couple of days in, and I get a phone call from the bank. The representative that showed me the property. Just a follow-up call, really. It was a lot of normal stuff like double-checking, make certain that I haven't discovered any structural or electrical or water problems. They just wanted to be sure, a lot of banks insure the home to make certain that if there's anything wrong with it before the sale is completed or just after, that it can be taken care of when it was under their responsibility. And that's pretty standard, a lot of places do that. And of course, eventually they got to asking about the back of the property. Did you happen to take a look at the fairy ring? I said, I mean, it's a ring of toadstools and such. I don't really see what the point is. Well, they did you happen to go in? I said, no, I don't see why. They go, well, you should take another look around the property. And I finished my conversation a little bit more leery. And that's when I looked up what is a fairy ring and what it could mean. And there was all sorts of answers, everywhere from a place where the Fae folk like to have their get-togethers and dance, to portals to worlds and dimensions beyond ours. And interestingly enough, every last reference I found to a fairy ring told me not to ever step in. And I thought that was odd. I mean, it's a superstition after all. What does it matter? What does it matter that somebody steps in a fairy ring? It's supposed to be bad luck, It's supposed to be all these things, but it's just a naturally occurring thing. Rare, but natural. It happens. Just like, dumb luck is that somebody's gonna happen to stand in it. That night, I heard the scratching again. Now, between the last time that I brought it up and now, I had went out to look, and I made the mistake of double checking to see if that tree could get towards my window, and it can't. When I took a look outside, there wasn't a person there. There were 13. 13 of what I'm going to guess are people. I guessed that they were people. They were formed around the ring, but they were all facing the house. They were all looking up at me through the window. I I did the thing that, most guys do when they sense some form of trouble approaching their place of safety. And I went out onto the back porch, and they were all still there. They were not singing or dancing or making any noise. They were just standing there watching me. I could see their breath, the moisture coming out looking like vapor on a cold night. You could see the light refract off of it from the moon. And they said, "Come join us." They all said it in sync with each other. Just one voice of many voices. Come and join us. And I said, "You're on my property. Get off. I don't want you here." And they all kind of chuckled, but it was still in sync. Like they were all speakers for the same PA system. And then they said, "You're on his earth. You're on her body. You were called to stand in the circle. The deal was struck long ago." And I said, "I don't care what deal was struck. I own this property now. You need to go. I'm not joining anything." And they laughed. A singular, unison laugh. A single unison laugh. And they said, "That is not the deal. Someone must come to this house. Someone must stand in the circle. Someone must make the sacrifice of their own willing, if not witting, accord. You have moved into the house. You must stand into the circle. You must go where it leads you. And you must do so willingly." I got aggressive. I got angry, and I told them to go to hell. And that's when I saw that the low light made each of the figures look like a person they they were wearing some sort of robe, and I couldn't really see their feet. But as I aggressively took a step towards them, one of them moved a little, and their legs, they weren't human legs. Your leg doesn't have two knees. The joints don't match. And they said again in unison that the deal had been struck. You must go where you are supposed to go. I left my things. I left all of my things. Never enter the circle. Never enter any circle. Not ever. Never go to Blackwood. Because whatever deal has been struck, apparently, you are part of it.